Welcome back, everyone. If you're a focused learner trying to navigate the absolute chaos of the modern digital landscape, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we've got a totally fascinating explainer packed with incredible clinical insights. We're bringing some serious energy to a topic that honestly drains so many of us. We are demystifying the dreaded screen time meltdown. We're going to look at exactly what is happening in the brain when the tablet turns off, and more importantly, how we can use neuroscience to reverse the damage and reclaim our calm.
Right, we've all been there. If you've ever tried to pry a smartphone away from an exhausted teenager or a crying child, you have undoubtedly asked yourself this exact question. It feels like an irrational overreaction. Why does a simple, "Hey, time's up," trigger slamming doors, tears, and just absolute panic? As exhausted parents, it's so easy to take this personally or just view it as bad behavior. But the science tells a wildly different story. So before you ground them until they're 30, let's take a look at the actual biology.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the screen time crisis. Second, hijacking the teenage brain. Third, dopamine versus serotonin. Fourth, the digital detox playbook. Fifth, cultivating a quiet mind. And finally, grounding and reconnection. Let's dive in.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the screen time crisis, the overwhelming digital landscape.
To really understand the meltdown, we first have to acknowledge the sheer volume of our digital landscape. We are living in a hyper-connected world where screens are quite literally everywhere, from the alarm that wakes us up to our late-night scrolling. But just look at this number. Recent data reveals that U.S. teens are currently averaging over 7 hours of daily screen time. 7 hours. That's practically a full-time job. And that isn't just passive time. It is aggressively replacing crucial developmental activities. Those 7 hours are directly replacing sleep, physical activity, and offline, real-world play. The very foundation of adolescent mental health is being eroded by pure volume.
Moving into Section 2, hijacking the teenage brain, understanding the neurological rewiring.
You see, it's not just about what kids are watching. It's about how the medium physically changes the brain's architecture. You've probably heard kids joke about the term brainrot online, but actually, it perfectly describes a clinically significant phenomenon. Brainrot is literally a state of cognitive fragmentation and mental fogginess driven by short-form algorithmic content. This constant context switching completely disrupts the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain responsible for impulse control. This completely validates what parents are seeing at home. A child's meltdown isn't a character flaw or just defiance, it's a profound biological transition problem.
To understand why this happens, we have to look at the habit loop that tech companies intentionally design. First, there's a trigger, a notification ping, or some curiosity prompt. Second, the action, the physical swipe. And third, the reward, a massive, unpredictable burst of dopamine. This variable reward system operates exactly like a slot machine in Vegas. The brain gets locked in, constantly pursuing the next funny video or like. This endless pursuit makes it incredibly difficult for a developing brain to simply stop, which builds into real, measurable biological consequences.
And the clinical data here is honestly stark. The constant rapid-fire stimulus actually leads to cortical thinning, resulting in a roughly 17.2% reduction in learning efficiency. Let that sink in. Also, the constant doom scrolling creates amygdala sensitization, which leads kids in a state of chronic low-level anxiety. And, perhaps most immediately damaging, the blue light exposure heavily suppresses melatonin, causing severe sleep deprivation. The brain is quite literally altering its physical structure to adapt to the screen.
Which brings us to Section 3, dopamine versus serotonin, the quick hit versus the slow glow.
To truly grasp the meltdown, we need to understand the intense chemical battle happening inside a child's brain every single time we ask them to put the device away. Think of dopamine as the quick hit. It's highly stimulating short-term pleasure, kind of like eating a massive sugary snack. It's exciting, sure, but when it crashes, it leaves the brain completely depleted, cranky, and just craving more. Now contrast that with serotonin. That's the slow glow. Serotonin provides lasting happiness and stability. It's built up through human connection, rest, and outdoor play. When a child is deep in a dopamine loop on a screen and we suddenly turn it off, we are triggering a massive physiological dopamine crash.
It all boils down to this crucial realization. Behavior is a signal, not a choice. When a child screams because the tablet is gone, their brain is literally struggling to transition from high dopamine stimulation back to the slower pace of the real world. We really need to view this through a lens of empathy. They aren't trying to give you a hard time. Their nervous system is having a hard time.
All right, shifting gears to Section 4, the Digital Detox Playbook. Tactical steps to reclaim balance.
With the diagnosis crystal clear, it's time to focus on solutions. And before we get into the tactics, I have to share this incredibly hopeful statistic. A 2025 JAMA Network Open report found that just a simple one-week social media detox can reduce depression symptoms by nearly 25% and anxiety by 16%. The brain's neuroplasticity is just amazing. If we change the environment, the brain absolutely can and will heal quickly.
So here are your actionable environmental engineering steps. Remember, tech is designed to be totally frictionless, so we have to intentionally reintroduce friction. Start by holding a collaborative family meeting so you can get everyone on the same page. Then, establish device-free zones, like the dining table. And here is a massive life hack. Turn your child's phone to grayscale mode. This stops the brain from being stimulated by those bright algorithmic colors. Also, disable non-essential notifications so the phone stops acting as a trigger, and create a central charging station out of the bedroom to protect that vital sleep.
Now, when it comes to the actual moment of turning the screen off, we must stop the surprise stop. Remember that dopamine crash we just talked about? If you suddenly ambush the brain by just yanking the Wi-Fi off, you are basically guaranteeing a meltdown. Instead, use clear countdowns: 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes. Use a consistent ending routine, like finishing a specific game level or one last video, so the child's brain can predict and physically prepare for the dopamine drop.
Moving right along to Section 5, cultivating a quiet mind. Moving from reaction to observation.
This part is fascinating. It blends modern clinical therapy with Richard Lynn's philosophical framework. It's based on mindfulness-based cognitive therapy for children, and it operates in 3 phases. First up is differentiation, using mindful breathing so they can notice that physical sensations are completely separate from the self. Second is intentional attention, practicing focusing on just a single sound or sight. And finally, cognitive control, which involves decentering. Decentering is huge. It helps kids treat that sudden urge to grab their phone or endlessly scroll as just a passing mental event, not a strict command they have to obey. And this brilliantly illustrates Richard Lynn's concept of the one-pointed mind. It's the intentional practice of completely discarding the chaotic, algorithm-driven commentary in our heads for deep, focused awareness on a single thing. By practicing monotasking, meaning doing just one thing at a time without any background digital noise, we actively heal the cognitive erosion caused by Brainrot. Finally, we hit Section 6, grounding and reconnection, anchoring the nervous system.
So what do you actually do in the immediate aftermath when the child's brain is spinning out? You use the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding method, and let me tell you, it is an absolute lifesaver. When a child is melting down, their nervous system is locked in a virtual threat mode. You gently guide them to name 5 things they can see, 4 they can physically feel, 3 they can hear, 2 they can smell, and 1 they can taste. This literally forces the brain to pull its processing power away from the digital withdrawal panic and firmly anchors it back into the physical present.
You also want to provide what's called a bridge activity. Don't just end screen time into a void. Offer a soft landing pad for the brain. Things like Lego, a crunchy snack, or helping stir dinner. You can also use deep belly breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or even sensory interventions like a temperature shock, which is literally just having them hold an ice cube for a few seconds to snap the nervous system right back into regulation.
And hey, never underestimate the power of movement. Moderate to high-intensity aerobic exercise is the ultimate dopamine substitute. It naturally mediates the damage of short video addiction by releasing dopamine and endorphins in a steady, controlled manner. It gives the brain the exact chemical reward it's craving, but through a healthy offline channel. I want to leave you with this fantastic summarizing thought from our sources. Unplugging is a way to disconnect to reconnect. Doing a digital detox or setting firm boundaries isn't about depriving your family of fun, not at all. It is a profound investment in your child's mental clarity and your family's overall resilience. We are actively creating space for that slow-glow serotonin to thrive. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to challenge you with this question. How will you reintroduce friction today to protect the quiet mind of your family? Will you turn a phone to grayscale? Will you establish a device-free dinner table? Pick just one tactical step and try it today. Thank you so much for joining me to learn how to navigate these digital challenges. Keep learning, stay focused, and I'll see you in the next explainer.